Welcome to the Scranton Mayoral Candidates Debate. This debate is sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Lackawanna County in collaboration with the Center for Ethics and Excellence in Public Service at the University of Scranton. My name is Jean Harris, and I am a long-term member of the League of Women Voters of Lackawanna County and also co-director of the Center for Ethics and Excellence in Public Service at the University of Scranton. In addition to that, I am also the moderator for tonight's debate. The mission of the League of Women Voters is to promote participation by informed citizens in their government. The Center for Ethics and Excellence in Public Service shares this mission. Tonight's debate offers an opportunity for the voters in Scranton to learn about the candidates who are running for the Scranton mayor's position so that you, the voters, can make informed choices at the polls on Tuesday, November 2nd. The two candidates on the November ballot for Scranton mayor are Paige Cognetti and Darwin Lee Shaw II. Paige Cognetti won the Democratic primary last May and is the incumbent mayor, having won a 2019 special election to fill the remaining 2 years of the previous mayor's term. Darwin Lee Shaw won the Republican primary last May. We thank both candidates for giving their time to speak with you, the voters, about their vision and plans for the city of Scranton through the position of mayor. The questions that I will ask the candidates during this debate were developed by members of the League of Women Voters of Lackawanna County. No candidate has any knowledge of the questions to be asked. The candidates drew lots shortly before we started in order to determine who would answer the first question first. We will then rotate which candidate answers each subsequent question first. Each candidate also has the opportunity to ask for a rebuttal, up to 3 rebuttals, and the rebuttals are for 1 minute. Then at the end, each candidate will have 2 minutes. The candidates will have 2 minutes to answer the questions that we ask, and at the end, they will have 2 minutes to offer a closing statement. So having established the rules, we'll start, and in the selection, Darwin is going to answer the first question first, and then we'll have Paige answer that. So Darwin, the first question is, please tell us what you believe is the most important quality for an effective mayor for the city of Scranton, and explain why that quality is so important.
Yes. First, I would like to thank the Women League of Voters for this opportunity and this time that we put together for this debate. And also, I would like to thank Paige Cognetti for the opportunity for this debate. What I think an effective mayor should have when it comes to an effective government is cooperation, organization, and also companionship with every municipality or bodies of government, local government, even federal or state, but we will just start out a local due to our commission and even the unions, as long as everybody works together and in a positive, fair, equitable manner, I feel, and treat everybody with respect. I feel that Scranton will not only thrive, but we can also come together as a community and form personal bonds through friendship, through hard work and just communication.
Thank you, Darwin. And the same question to Paige. Please tell us what you believe is the most important quality for an effective mayor for the city of Scranton, and explain why that quality is so important.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Harris and the League of Women Voters for this evening's debate, and Mr. Shaw, so nice to see you. I think the most important quality for a mayor is empathy. As mayor in the city of Scranton, you have 80,000 residents with varying issues on a day-to-day basis, and at a macro level, huge issues persist in economic equality, racial injustice, legacy issues of different groups being treated differently. And without a deep sense of empathy as a mayor, you cannot put yourself in other people's shoes and understand what their needs are. It's very easy, I think, to think of mayor as somebody who sits at City Hall and just gives directives, but quite the contrary. As mayor, we try to go out. We've done over 40 pop-up city halls throughout different neighborhoods in the city. You have to have a deep sense of empathy in order to truly listen, understand the needs of people, and then set policy and programs and coach your own team to be able to meet those needs.
Thank you, Paige. Darwin, did you want a rebuttal? Okay, so we'll set it up for 1 minute. And again, the green will turn yellow when you're halfway through your minute. Go ahead, Darwin.
Empathy is more than a quality that a mayor should have. It is mandatory. Empathy, respect, and honesty and trust through not only through the government, but also its people that you choose to represent and will represent, no matter what color you are, no matter how old you are, or no matter what your background is like. When we become government officials, let's say, and leaders, community leaders, we are no longer existent. So anything our community needs and anything our community needs to get provided, it is on us. And empathy, hope, honesty, honestly, is a definite mandatory between government and the community.
Thank you. We'll now move to the second question, and Paige will answer this first. Paige, the mayor and city council members are elected to work in the best interest of the city and its residents. As mayor, what will you do to ensure that there is a good working relationship between you, your administration, and city council?
Sure. When I first came into office in 2020, I was the first mayor in recent memory to attend city council meetings. I started doing that in person those first 10 weeks of 2020 before we unfortunately had to go virtual, and continues to this day to go to city council meetings and update city council. I keep in touch with city council president on a regular basis. We have a weekly meeting that we set, and I continue to work with other city council members. We also keep a good conversation going between our solicitors, and the city clerk's office is very important to the city. We work very hard, and I've reconstructed the front office of the mayor's office to have not 2 assistants, but an executive assistant that helps with scheduling and social media for the city, with another position which is constituent services and is tasked with keeping in touch with the city clerk and helping all of those questions get out to the directors. So we're continuing to work on that. The council mayor relationship is always a work in progress. We'll see in January of 2022 that we'll have some new council members and a new set of relationships to nurture, but I look forward to doing that.
Thank you, Paige. Darwin, the same question to you. The mayor and city council members are elected to work in the best interest of the city and its residents. As mayor, what will you do to ensure that there is a good working relationship between you, your administration, and city council?
As mayor, I plan to implement the full effect of our city charter. One part of our city charter is that the mayor and the council work together as a power, basically. So I would like the financial seat, this will be Mr. Tom Schuster, by the grace of God, to sit in every contract negotiation meeting with us. I would like the community develop to sit around and contracts with us and go around in the community so we can assess everything face to face, and also listen to the communities and their problems with the mayor and the council, like we're supposed to do, hand in hand, not just sit around and debate or deliberate over Zoom meetings or paperwork. And it's time for us to get out there in our community and help and protect not only the citizens, but also the environment and also the property and the property owner by community development, outreach programs, balancing a budget, which you do need a council on, the council member on finance, to help with, to make the budget honestly become realistic. And I believe that not only contracts will be set up the proper way, but there will leave room for economic growth and more development and trust between local government.
Thank you, Darwin. The next question, we will start with you, Darwin. So the question is, many problems confronted by the city of Scranton are problems also confronted by other governments in the region. Some problems may be addressed through collaboration of local governments and or through collaboration with the county government. So the question is, please discuss a public problem challenging the city of Scranton that you believe can be best addressed through some kind of intergovernmental collaboration.
One major problem that is going to become a major issue now. The snow season is coming, will be flood mitigation, especially in North Side. And also, if we can combine the health issues with COVID and let the county develop the health organization at their leisure with oversight from the city, and also every medical facility we have from Geisinger down to our medical community college for more organization and better understanding on that medical aspect. Now, I also would, what else? I would also like to implement a food study program basically and not stop, but see if we can incorporate natural gas instead of extending the landfill at DP, even though it is already in process and then it has already been completed. We need to find something better and safer for our community to not only develop but also thrive on. So us working with our county on a food study program, outreach programs when it's pertaining to opioid addiction or even the lack of resources for the local community and the county. That's how we should just attend those type of meetings and spearhead those dire situations that we need, especially flood mitigation.
Thank you, Darwin. Paige, the same question to you. So many problems of the city that the city confronts are confronted by other local governments. And so some of these problems may be addressed through local collaborations and or through collaborating with the county government. So please discuss a public problem challenging the city of Scranton that you believe can be best addressed through intergovernmental collaboration.
Certainly. So a huge problem that it's a global problem, it's a national problem, a Pennsylvania problem, and it's also a Scranton problem is the behavioral health crisis that we're in. And there's overlap, obviously, with behavioral health and addiction issues. And we need to be addressing this as a community. I know that we're not alone in this. We were on the phone today with the state Department of Drug and Alcohol programs, along with the district attorney's office and the county, and along with the public health coordinator that we have now in the city, working on how we might be able to do public information campaigns about options for addiction treatment, options for behavioral health treatment. And we've been talking about fentanyl test strips as just one tool to help mitigate the opioid issue. This is again, global issue, something though I think that we can not solve it completely, that we'll never be able to fully solve it, but address it here at the local level with all of our great partners at the state, county level, working with the city, and then all of our great health partners. We've got fantastic health infrastructure here, both on the community side with places like the Wright Center and Scranton Counseling, along with Geisinger, Moses Taylor Regional, and the Medical College. So we'll keep working on those issues as a community. I think that Scranton can look to COVID with a little bit of a silver lining, that COVID and the mitigation that we had to do for the virus and are continuing to do for the virus has really accelerated some of our partnerships. And now we're looking to a phase where we're still working on the vaccine piece, of course, and still tracking COVID, but we're moving on again, which is what we needed to be doing in the first place, looking at the behavioral health and opioid epidemic.
Thank you. Darwin, this is your second of 3 rebuttals, and you want a rebuttal, correct? Okay, so you just need to, unmute yourself and you have 1 minute for rebuttal.
A major part that would help, and honestly, on all ages, from elderly all the way down to our youth, mainly starting with our youth, but everybody does need somebody to talk to. And mental health is more effective when it comes to dealing with probably opioid addictions or anything. A fentanyl test strip, I would say, would probably be the most dangerous thing to decriminalize and introduce in your community, because it takes a professional, a medical professional, basically to test for that opioid, you would say. And if you have everybody just running around with those test strips, they honestly can do as they see fit with that illegal substance, what used to be criminalized. So I would rather concentrate on mental health, because that will incorporate the behavioral issues and everything else, and even problems that people deserve to get off their chest as individuals and not become judged.
Thank you, Darwin. Paige, a rebuttal, so 1 minute rebuttal. Thanks.
Yeah. Mr. Shaw, the idea that fentanyl test strips are harmful instead of harm reducing is part of the misinformation that we need to combat. That's why we'll be working with DDAP in the county to try to make sure that people are getting the right information about these tools to reduce harm as we go through the opioid epidemic.
Thank you. So this will be your final rebuttal, if you use it, just so you know that. But you have 1 minute for your third and last rebuttal. Darwin.
Honestly, when it comes to decriminalize a fentanyl test strip at a federal level, it is criminalized. So to oversee or you say go over a federal law of decriminalization of something that is already criminalized. Honestly, it's kind of illegal, but it is in your right and in your power to do.
Thank you, Darwin. So the next question, we'll start with Paige answering this question. Paige, as mayor, what will you do to ensure that there is a good working relationship between you, your administration, and the county government officials?
Sure. So as I stated, we were on the phone today with one of the officials that works on behavioral health and addiction issues. We continue to work across county and city government on a host of issues, and we look forward to continuing to deepen those ties. We've worked with the various officials, especially the Area Agency on Aging, as we've combated the epidemic here. Been on the phone and on Zooms with so many different county officials. The county's got incredible people. We've got different offices there that we don't have in the city. For example, they have an arts and culture director that we work really well with. So we try to utilize the resources of the county to be able to supplement what we do here in the city. And we'll continue to work well with them and try to make sure that we're working, especially on things like stormwater. That's a big one. Working on the tax pieces. We're looking forward to hearing more about the reassessment bids that the county received and hope that they move forward soon with that. That will unlock a host of options for us as we go forward in restructuring part of our tax regime and also pulling in economic development. So look forward to continuing to work with the county in the months and years to come.
Thank you. Darwin, the same question to you. As mayor, what will you do to ensure that there is a good working relationship between you, your administration, and county government officials?
As mayor, what I would do to make sure there is a good working relationship is we need to expand our tax base and get natural revenue and actually bring money to our city and also promote ourselves. Now, how we would do that is we would have to, you would say, work with the federal government on legalizing cannabis or certain issues, certain situations like that for tax purposes only to boost, not only boost revenue, but bring money to Scranton that we never seen before in ages. And also we can open up more infrastructure programs just from that money alone and take our concentration off of the ARP funding that is coming and let that funding go towards the things that needs to be going towards, honestly, especially flood mitigation. And if we can help out our school boards and even draw up better contracts and protect pension and protect those in those homes that are struggling right now. I also would like to see if we can utilize natural gas on a higher level and then combine something locally like a food studies program, outreach programs, behavioral issue programs. All these programs are already here, but the proper funding and the money needs to be thrown at those programs, not thrown, but conducive to a lifestyle that Scranton not only deserves, but we have earned, honestly, from not only struggling from the lack of government, the lack of cooperation, but also paying our own bills and debating between medicine or just things that we can provide for not only our children, but for ourselves. And then I would like just more cooperation between the county and the mayor. And there will be cooperation between the county, the mayor, and the city council on a daily basis, not through Zoom, face-to-face interaction. And then the mayor will get out, as the mayor will get up and go into the community, even as a young man, and put my best foot forward and get what we need done down to our utilities and parks and recreation.
Thank you, Darwin. The next question, we're going to talk a little bit more about budgeting and taxing. So the next question, Darwin, goes to you first. So Scranton's Home Rule Charter authorizes the mayor to draft a proposed budget in which the total, and this is a quote, the total proposed expenditures shall not exceed the total estimated funds available, unquote. The reality is that historically, city administrations have spent more than the funds available in each budget cycle. So please explain one change you would advocate on the expenditure side of the city budget that you believe is key to eliminating the city's structural budget deficit. And eliminating waste and inefficiencies is not an acceptable answer. So Darwin, explain one change you would advocate for on the expenditure side of the city budget that you believe is key to eliminating the city's structural budget deficit. There we go. I was going to say, I think you're frozen, Darwin. So let's try again.
But if the legalization, yes, can you see me now? Okay.
Yeah.
I would like, can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So what is one change you would advocate for on the expenditure side of the city budget that you believe is key to eliminating the city's structural budget deficit?
We would have to, it's hard, but we have spending in certain areas, and we would have to take a hard look at our conducive with something being done not only immediately but efficiently and effectively around the community or the area that that overtime is being needed, and we need to stop sticking individuals in areas like firefighters up at splash pads and things like that with no standing water and having the community pay for it, which it is a good thing. It is a good thing to have protection, but there's always other individuals, there's college kids, there's just people that graduate from high school that are more than willing to get a job. It is just property marketing and attracting young individuals to be enthusiastic about making a change in their life. So I would advocate we would have to cut spending in certain areas. While we cut spending and we have income coming in, we can form a gap between the money that we spend and the money that the money that is coming in from the tax that we are implementing or the revenue systems or the revenue streams that we are building.
Thank you, Darwin. Paige, the same question to you. So the mayor, the Home Rule Charter does call for a proposed balanced budget. Total proposed expenditures shall not exceed the total estimated funds available, although historically the city administrations have spent more than the funds available. So please explain one change you would advocate for in the expenditure side of the city budget that you believe is key to eliminating the city's structural budget deficit.
Sure. So in 2020, we managed the budget to a surplus in the face of really strong economic headwinds from the pandemic. And we are very confident that we'll be able to do the same here for the 2021 budget. We have really tightened our belts in many ways, also accelerated by the pandemic. And as we look to the coming years, aided in great ways by the American Rescue Plan, we should be able to spend money on some of the programs that we had to curtail during the pandemic, as we didn't know what tax dollars would be coming in. So we're grateful for that. I fought very hard for the American Rescue Plan funds. I was the lead mayor for Pennsylvania in advocating for those funds and to pass in Congress. On the budget right now, the healthcare trajectory, along with pensions, but healthcare pensions just keep going up, and there's not much we can do about the macro pieces of healthcare and pensions. Those are going to come up. The promises that the city leaders have made over the past decades are set in stone, as they should be, and those pension costs will continue to pervade, but we're working on figuring out ways to curtail those over time. Healthcare is one area where we can take the reins a bit, and we've worked hard to make our healthcare costs more efficient. We were able to do a request for proposals last summer for a new healthcare administrator. We have saved in the 7 figures, at least, going through this last year with healthcare. There were a lot of costs that were unnecessary, a lot of middlemen, if you will, that were not necessary to our programs. And we'll continue to look at healthcare, try to be smart with how we keep great healthcare for our employees, but are not spending extra funds that over time we're not going to be able to sustain. So in addition to that, we have a fund balance policy that you'll be seeing before City Council by the end of the year. It's part of our Act 47 exit plan, where we're looking at making sure that we have a fund balance policy to prevent what you mentioned at the beginning, which is spending more than we have.
There we go, unmuted. Thank you. So the next question, Paige will answer first, and this is a follow-up. So again, in terms of balancing the budget, now we're going to talk about the revenue side. So please explain one change you will advocate for in the revenue side of the city budget that you believe is key to eliminating of the city's structural budget deficit.
So we're looking at a range of revenue streams and trying to be creative and what types of revenue streams we could stand up in the coming years. I'm very active in the Pennsylvania Municipal League. I'm part of the executive board, and it's wonderful to be able to work with other mayors and the executives at the Municipal League who have seen different machinations in different cities. And also together we advocate for changes at the state level that will enable us to be more flexible in the types of revenue streams that we have at the local level. There's a lot of state language, state legislation that prevents us from being flexible. And we're working as a group of mayors to try to change some of that. Example of a revenue stream we'd like to explore more is a hotel tax. It wouldn't save us from being, from having to tax our residents who are already overburdened, but it would be an added revenue stream that could help us potentially tick down one of those taxes, like the wage tax, over time. So trying to be creative and trying to have a two-track where we with our tax policy working group that meets every 2 weeks, trying to work on solutions that we can do either ourselves or solutions that we could take to the state. That other track being working with the Pennsylvania Municipal League to lobby for more flexibility in how we create revenue in the city.
Thank you. Darwin, the same question to you. So given the need for a balanced budget, please explain one change you will advocate for in the revenue side of the city budget that you believe is key to eliminating the structural deficit.
What is key to eliminating structural deficit, I would say, and it is very simple, is we put the proper funding where it needs to go, honestly, and you help out the areas that do need help, like our school boards, parks and recreation, things like that. And besides the ARP funding, it is our job to bring money to our city and basically provide for our citizens, our community, and our city. Now, if it's possible to spearhead three areas of government at once. Locally, we would probably say take the money from cannabis and build our zoos back and form a little carnival, you would say, at Nayoth Park like we used to have. If we had it back in the past, we can definitely sustain it today as long as the money goes where it needs to go. And that will bring in tourist attractions, especially if our sign now says the home of Biden. Whether it is good or bad, we still have a president that is from the Scranton area, and we should be proud of that. And also enthusiastic about bringing more tourist attractions. Now, Mayor Cognetti, I would say, is right about implementing a hotel tax. Instead of 5%, I would say 2%. You don't want to overburden individuals that are coming in your city to already spend money just to rest their head if there's not much to do out here. So that is the good way, but just a little bit lower price would be wonderful. And then ultimately, you'll work with the federal government and utilize our natural gas deposits. It is here, and it's here for us to utilize. And then we can also bring up our property value by fixing our roads, fixing our sidewalks and our parks, and bringing 4 brand new pools, but concentrating on Nayoth. Now we're bringing revenue into our city, and we're expanding, opening up our tax base, what is letting us drop down the triple LST tax to the normal, you'll say double tax. It should be around $62, and allow businesses to open up and allow opportunities for families to grow out here and just develop prosperity.
Thank you, Darwin. The next question, Darwin, you will get to answer this one first. So this is about redevelopment. Scranton seems to be going through a broad redevelopment thanks to developers repurposing old buildings such as Scranton Lace Works, the Perotti Cigar Factory, and the former Delta Medics offices in Penn Avenue. What do you think is driving this new redevelopment push? And if you think this is a good thing, what can the city do to encourage more redevelopment? And Darwin, this goes to you first.
I would say it's too late to tell if anything is good or bad, but it is up to the mayor to make every good situation out of a bad situation. Now, the good situation would be those are taxable properties. We can receive revenue from that money, and we can receive partnerships and even fundraiser events through help with those corporations or businesses that are starting to come into our city and seeing the beauty it is, even though our tax base and our budget is kind of out of whack, it can be put together. And once it is put together, Scranton was and will forever be at the top of the food chain when it comes to innovation, whether it be coal, whether it be industrial work. Now it is time for us to go green. Now it is time for us to save money on our utility bills, save money on our medical bills, and open up generational wealth, not only for our children, but for their children, and to take the pressure off, especially the teachers, no matter what teacher you are, and everyday citizens due to the wage tax. I'm sorry, I lost a little bit of touch with that one, but that's about it. That's about it.
Thank you, Darwin. Paige, the same question to you. So Scranton seems to be going through a broad redevelopment thanks to developers repurposing old buildings such as Scranton Lace, the Perotti Cigar Factory, and the Delta Medics offices downtown. What do you think is driving this redevelopment? And if you think it's a good thing for the city, what can the city do to encourage more redevelopment?
Undoubtedly, it's good for the city. Over the last 15 years, the downtown has been revitalized with condos and apartments coming online, where we've been able to add housing, in some places, very high-end housing for people coming in or moving, baby boomers who have maybe decided to move out and downsize without displacing other residents. And that's a really difficult challenge for so many communities, and something that we need to work on here in Scranton, that we don't do that and learn from other cities there. But it's created an entirely different neighborhood downtown, and you can feel that in the other neighborhoods too. It's our job at the city to now connect the downtown and the neighborhoods more safely, make sure that we're putting in the infrastructure to connect those new developments to the great neighborhoods that we have. And we're appreciative also of all of the homeowners and all the investors who have been investing in our neighborhoods, groups like NeighborWorks and United Neighborhood Centers, who have been investing in West Side and South Side, looking at the Hill section, making sure that we're nurturing those neighborhoods. We're building back up those streets that and those facades, those houses that once had a certain a type of look and feel. We're getting facade grants out, we're getting economic development grants out, and looking to make sure that our development isn't only downtown, but it spreads through the neighborhoods. The other piece of that is a more proactive marketing of the city. We're finally, hopefully, coming out of this pandemic and able to go out and pitch Scranton and come to Scranton. Last week, as I said, I was able to be in Lancaster with PML, talking up Scranton. I was able to go to New York City a couple of weeks ago with a host of other cities and different people who, reminding them we're only 100 miles away, encouraging investment in Scranton, encouraging people to come and buy a home here, stake out a life here. So I think our pitch is real. I think it's very much there. I think that 100-mile distance from New York City and Philadelphia is salient.
Thank you. The next question will start with Paige. What, if any, changes do you propose to make over the next 4 years to improve public safety and domestic tranquility in the city?
I'm not sure what domestic tranquility, can you explain that a little bit, please?
And so just it goes along with public safety, just a sense of security and living in a community that you feel is secure and tranquil.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, we are working hard to deliver our services equitably, and working with not just our police department in terms of public safety, but police, fire, public works, code enforcement, and the entirety of city services. when we think about city services, we need to think about why we're here. And that's not just police, it's not just fire, it's also public works. You think about public works, it's not just picking up the garbage, it's the middle of the night if a traffic signal goes out. It's making sure that we're doing our best to paint the stripes for the crosswalks. For code enforcement isn't about charging fees and getting revenue. It's about making sure that people are cutting their lawns and we don't have, raccoons running amok in a neighborhood. So we're trying to do our job to deliver our services from the bottom up, have that mindset of why we're here, to keep people safe, to help people feel safe. And that we think will help people continue to feel pride in their community, continue to feel safe in their community. I think the other layer there is public health, by getting the grant for the public health coordinator and continuing to nurture these partnerships across our hospital systems, our public safety offices, not just at the city, but like we talked about earlier, the state and federal level, making sure that the health is a key component, because we could be as safe, quote unquote, as possible, but if we're not healthy, then we're only part of the way there. So we'll continue to focus on health and safety and making sure that at the city, every person that is working for the city can answer why, and that why is equitable delivery of services to foster an environment for people to live, work, and play and thrive.
Thank you. Darwin, the same question to you. So what, if any, changes do you propose to make over the next 4 years to improve public safety and a sense of domestic tranquility in the city?
To improve public safety, due to what happened to my mother back in the 90s, the reason why I'm running for mayor is to make sure no citizen ever has to go through or live how I lived in my life or in their life. So we would have to help our community by policing, not force our police in our community, but just build the trust back between our police and our community. Ms. Cognetti is right when she says that if our city is safe but it's not healthy, it really wouldn't do much. And us working with our, you would say, our Geisinger hospital, the medical college, etc., to find a way for us to provide healthcare for our citizens and our workers will be a major, major feat. But that comes with sitting down contracts and negotiation. Ultimately, when it comes for our kids, I would like more programs. We will induce more programs and also equality, because ultimately I am a minister, so God tells us to treat those how you want to be treated. So if you treat others with fair, honest, and respectful judgment, you too will receive investments in your community. You will receive respect, and you will receive, honestly, the trust that you need from your community as a political figure. I would definitely like to see equality change and become the forefront to spread, and when it's among men, women, and even the youth. It doesn't matter what color we are, it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter who you are still a beautiful individual that is part of our beautiful city, and it is time for all of us to be treated as such.
Thank you, Darwin. The next question, Darwin, you will be answering this one first. And I have a little bit of an intro before the question. So according to the Jesuit Research Institute at Loyola University in New Orleans, a living wage is defined as the wage rate at which a worker employed on a full-time basis can reach a standard of living that meets essential basic needs and allows the worker to live a modest but dignified life. So that's the definition of a living wage, being able to live a modest, dignified life and have your basic needs met. According to the 2019 Living Wage Report of the Institute for Public Policy and Economic Development and the University of Scranton, the required annual income before taxes and the hourly wage needed to meet the living wage threshold for a family with 2 adults and 1 child living in Lackawanna and Luzerne counties must have both adults making at least $12.39 per hour. A single parent with 1 child must make an estimated $22.52 per hour to achieve a living standard wage. So the question is, what can you do as the mayor of Scranton to attract and retain major employers to the city who will create a large number of jobs that pay these threshold living wages, $12.39 or $22.52. And Darwin, you're getting this question first.
Honestly, I am kind of shocked to know that is the average for anybody to try to build a life of, because it is almost impossible, because you're going to struggle to debate about paying for something and not paying for anything. From an individual who graduated in Keystone Job Corps with office administration and just had to be taught about benefits and balancing budgets before just spending money, it is better to have benefits, and a benefit would be honestly to not only cut spending, but we have to lower some of our taxes. We have to lower our taxes and beautify our community and work with United Neighborhoods and the nonprofits to help us build more infrastructure and in our community. You would say not big projects, small projects, plant plants, just make the outside of somebody's house look better. And then the businesses will ultimately come back to Scranton with lower taxes, family sustainable businesses, and pay about somebody $13.75, because that's what I started making at night shift. But $7.25, $11, $12, it is a good jump. But I would have to go to the state legislator and see if we can find more advertising ways to bring back warehouses, or find a way that we can build our own family sustainable jobs, whether it be utilizing natural gas resources, finding a way to cut our utility bills by putting solar panels in certain areas and then selling that energy back to the PP&L companies. Just think anything other than the average norm of what is right now of that process of spending money would honestly be an increase, instead of just struggling paying $12 or $11.25 to an individual, when there are ways to have businesses bring about $13.75 an hour, and which is very sustainable and opens up generational wealth and even a good peace of mind in your home.
Thank you. And your child is welcome to show her face or his face. We understand what happens with Zoom meetings. And so Paige, the same question to you. I'm not going to go through the definition of living wage again, or the numbers, but what can you do as the mayor of Scranton to attract and retain major employers to the city who will create a large number of jobs that pay threshold living wages?
Yes, my daughter would be crawling all over me if it weren't for a great babysitter that I have with her with right now. So if there's a few key things here. Quality of life, and that's something that's on us at the city to continue to deliver those services from the ground up. Code enforcement, public works, police, fire, all the city administration. We have to keep doing great work and doing better and better work at the city to make this an attractive place for a CEO of a company to come see and want to bring those jobs to us. In addition to the quality of life pieces, we've got to work well with our school district, which we do, and continue to fight for fair funding for our kids. That is something that is so long overdue, and we've got to get our school district to a place where they have the funding they need for great educations. We are also working across our educational partners and our workforce partners, our business partners, and it includes the institute that you mentioned earlier, working on smart workforce development, encouraging the kids that are in school today, those kids that are in junior high school, even earlier than that, to look toward and want the type of jobs and be able to get the type of training for the jobs that are going to be available in the future, and make sure that the companies we're attracting are going to be able to find the talent, right? You could have a great company come here, but if there's no talent to hold those jobs, they're either never going to come here in the first place, or they're going to quickly leave. So we have a lot of work to do, and I think that's where local government can be a great facilitator of workforce development. Government doesn't create jobs, but government can facilitate those conversations, those partnerships, and go out and get money to start funding those. Another big piece is the big picture items, like trying to get Amtrak to get a new corridor from here to New York. We're trying to work on those small tracks, code enforcement, making sure lawns get cut, big tracks, try to get that corridor from Scranton to New York back up and running. The other piece is advocating for a higher minimum wage, full stop.
Thank you. The next question, we'll start with Paige answering first. Paige, as a mayor, would you fight for the county to conduct reassessment of property values? And if yes, please explain why you think reassessment is important and what you would do in your fight for reassessment.
Reassessment is critical to us moving forward. We can talk about economic growth, but if you are a business owner or a person trying to potentially move your family here, if you hear that we haven't reassessed our properties in over 50 years, you might skip a beat and you might look somewhere else. It is critical that we get this done. I'm looking forward again to the results of the bid that I'm very happy the county commissioners put out earlier over, I think, in the spring, and we'll move forward and be at the city as supportive of as we can of that effort. It's a big undertaking. I know it's a lot of bureaucratic pieces that need to go through it. We stand ready at the city to help the county in any way get this done and get us to move into the next phase.
Thank you. And Darwin, the same question to you. As mayor, would you fight for the county to conduct reassessment of property values? If yes, please explain why you would support that and tell us what you would do in the fight for reassessment. And I forgot to say this second part. And if no, please explain why you would not fight for a county reassessment of property values.
I would fight for a reassessment of property values, but not at the present time, because Scranton we have no natural revenue. We have no income. We have ARP funding, and the norm, you would say, in our income system and even what our budget. So to raise our taxes on certain areas due to reassessment at this present time wouldn't be wise, especially our elderlies and the vintage homes, because those areas will go up. And there is a lot of vintage homes that were made in the 60s, 50s in Scranton that are beautiful, that individuals worked really hard to keep those homes. Now, as mayor, I would advocate and not only fight, but I would try to amend my own law to protect the vintage homes and the elderlies that struggle to not only pay their taxes, but will think or will probably tax out of their homes. I would fight for them to cause relief and help them in any way I can and not take no for an answer, because nobody wants to be on the street and no government official wants to deal with seeing their city fall apart. So I am for reassessment, but not at this present time. Until there's natural revenue resources or there's more money, you would say, that we can help the county, because a reassessment is very expensive. And if we're going to concentrate on having a train go from here to New York City, there is no reason for us to be throwing money at that situation at this present time for at least 6 months. In the next 6 months, then yes, the natural revenue should be coming in, the revenue sources from, you would say, the tourist attractments, or the fact that individuals are actually paying their taxes because certain taxes have been lowered and it's family sustainable now. That alone will open up doors for a proper reassessment and fair, equitable reassessment.
Thank you, Darwin. Paige, did you want to rebuttal? So a 1-minute rebuttal. This is your second.
Sure. The other counties that have reassessed have found, and the projection is always just a projection, would be that there will be winners and losers, and there will be property owners who just stay pretty much static. So a reassessment does not mean a tax increase on everyone. Certainly there will be people that need to pay more. There will be people that will pay less. And that's why currently not having this assessment been done and not having it had been completed in 50 years, currently it's inequitable. We need to get back to equity. Yes, that can be a painful process, but it does not mean a tax increase across the board.
Thank you. There we go. Sorry, I wasn't fully unmuted. The next question will go to Darwin first. Scranton has 5 college campuses located either totally or partially within its borders. The benefits, within its borders, the students and employees of these campuses provide economic benefits to the city. What other benefits can the city garner from having 5 colleges within its borders, and what can you do as mayor to reap those benefits from the colleges?
the fact that we have that many colleges in the city of Scranton is amazing, because that means the knowledge that is soaked up from the youth and even anybody who wants to learn is it's 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 uncanny. There is no amount that you can learn due to having 5 colleges. Now, when it comes to sports, you would say I would like to get the colleges more involved in more like football games pertaining around how the Super Bowl is, bringing tourists to come and watch our games, and not only watch our games but debate and think about letting their children attend their this college, or look at the curriculum that you'll say the University of Scranton has, which is a wonderful one, or Marywood University, which is a wonderful one, down to the local community colleges. Now, if we can utilize our sports activities and make them Super Bowl games, Rose Bowl games, just we would just market the fact that our athletics program is a wonderful program. We would market the fact that our academic program is a wonderful program, and our teachers work hard. Not only our teachers work hard, and our students work hard, and we have a solid form of government standing and supporting all forms of education, down to kindergarten all the way up to college, and opening doors for city government or internships that individuals want to do. Now, it is our job to sit down with the colleges. It is our job to sit down with the intermediate schools and ask not what they can do for us, but what we can do for them. What do you need from us to help your job and help you educate our babies and your babies? I would say at the end of the day would be a major, major feat to just have people enthusiastic about keeping their kids in school, coming to school, and ultimately will form a life in Scranton, which will be more individuals who are willing to invest into our community and into our school system and into our children.
Thank you, Darwin. Paige, the same question to you. So Scranton has 5 college campuses located totally or partially in the city. And the city does get economic benefit from those colleges. What other benefits can the city garner from having 5 college campuses within its borders? And what can you do as mayor to help reap those benefits?
We have built very good relationships with all of our colleges. We have a standing meeting every few weeks. It's our recovery task force, it's our hospitals and our education partners. And we continue to work together to fight the virus. Obviously, that's number one, but the workforce pieces are really important. So I think that it's not an untapped resource, but it's something that we can all do better. And we're all working very hard together to do, is to understand what is this new economy that we're in. We seem to be in a labor shortage, labor crisis, wage crisis. There's a combination of phrases because we're literally living in history right now to try to figure out what this is. We're working together to address what the economic headwinds are now, what they will be in the future, work together with the academics to think about it from an academic standpoint, work with the people that have the data and the access to students, because that's a great resource. How do we figure out how we attract, not just attract talent to our area, but make sure that we're attracting the type of companies for a workforce that is going to be salient in the future. It's very unsettling right now what the labor market looks like. It's not something that's necessarily bad, but it does seem to be a real pivotal moment in economic history, and we need to work together with those universities, both on the administrative side for programming, on the academic side for the knowledge base and the looking back to history, to other points of time where we've had a pivot like this, and figure out how we go forward. Because not just in terms of forward looking at what the jobs of the future look like, but we need to make sure that our small businesses survive. Right now, a lot of them are being crunched by the wages that are going up, which we want to see high wages, but we also can't do it. It has to balance out with the needs and ability of our small businesses to sustain those wages and those benefits. So we really are living through history, and we're lucky here in Scranton to have those academic institutions around us.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask one last question before we go to closing statements, and I'm going to cut the response time to just 1 minute. So Abby, just 1 minute for response. And so this final question, which Paige will get first, what is one accomplishment that you would hope to be able to talk about at the end of your time as mayor of Scranton, one of your most important accomplishments?
I hope that in however many years' time that I would end my tenure as mayor, I would be able to walk safely with my family from downtown to each of the major corridors in our neighborhood. So, Main Ave, Cedar Ave, and Pittston Ave, all the way to Greenridge Street. I want to make sure that we are able to connect both physically and as a community to these neighborhoods. And I know that might sound simple, but knowing what I know about how much it takes to get the funding, to get the easements sometimes to make these things happen, I want to be able to do that. And there's, of course, a host of things that would come with that development along major thoroughfares and connecting and developing new thoroughfares that will be great for our quality of life and great for the city at large.
Thank you, Paige. So Darwin, this is the same question to you as the final question before closing arguments. Closing arguments. Wow, I sound like a lawyer. Closing statements, sorry. So what is one accomplishment you would be really pleased and able to feel good about at the end of your term as mayor of Scranton if you were to win this election? I think you are frozen, Darwin. So you still look muted and I can't hear you. Can you try to unmute again? Okay, try one more time, Darwin. There seems to be something happening here on the on the computer. Up.
So I think we'll need to just give him a minute to log back in, if you all don't mind. Yeah, there he is. Darwin, you need to fix your picture too.
Yeah, you need to rotate your sideways. One more. There you go. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll ask the question again, Andrea, and then Darwin can provide his answer, and then we'll go to closing statements. So Darwin, the question to you is, what is one accomplishment you would like to be able to claim at the end of a term, if indeed you win this election, at the end of your time in office as mayor?
I would say my accomplishment is it's a three-prong process. I would like to put $1,500 back in everybody's home. I would like there to be safe and prosperable and tax-friendly environment in Scranton, Pennsylvania, like which we all deserve. And I would like ultimately the individuals who not only work hard, but who invest in their community, which will be every individual, to be acknowledged and recognized for the hard work that they not only do around their property, but in their home, but also in their work, whether it be school, whether it be manual labor, or even clerical workers. Everybody deserves to be recognized, especially in this day and age. So I would see that as a major accomplishment, and implementing the ministry of also treating those how you want to be treated as equals as a major accomplishment, and us ultimately be in diversity with love and prosperity and together as a community will be more than an accomplishment and more than enough for me.
Thank you, Darwin. And so now we'll turn to closing statements. So I invite both candidates. You will have 2 minutes for a closing statement, and in our random selection at the beginning of this debate, Darwin was selected to go first. So Darwin, you have 2 minutes for your closing statement. Thank you.
I would just like to say thank you to the Women League of Voters for this opportunity, and thank you to Mayor Paige Cognetti for the opportunity and the debate. It was an honor. My name is Darwin Shaw. I am running for mayor of Scranton, Pennsylvania on the Republican ticket. I am a Republican, but it doesn't matter about my views. I have Democratic views, but we are all people and we are all equal. And as mayor, I will not only stand up and fight for equality and strive for progression and better the way of life and living in our community. But I will also fight for the fact to let people know that it doesn't matter about the color of your skin. It matters about what you can do for your people, what you put out in your community, and the ability that your community has the opportunity and the know-how and the resources to invest in itself and in its own people. And as mayor, I will not only provide hope, but also help with mental health and uplifting due to watching my mom get murdered in Scranton, and just mend the protection between us and the police systems, open up the contracts, have union concessions, ask the nonprofits what they can do, what you can give to us financially, and what areas are you going to work on when it comes to helping our community, and ultimately sit down with the individuals and find the problem areas, especially when it comes to flood mitigation, pipes bursting, and even the fact that we no longer have a kindergarten program. We need to mend those situations, and that won't be a negotiation. That will definitely happen through to prosperity and understanding and cooperation. So as mayor, I will implement those rules and those laws and put my best foot forward, not only for me, but for my community, and give back to the fact that I wouldn't be here today without the community, without Scranton. And it's time for me to stand up and give back to everyone.
Thank you very much, Darwin. Paige, your closing statement?
Sure. We've just begun to make Scranton government work better for residents. We're focusing on equity, responsiveness, and economic growth. Alongside 500 dedicated city employees and community business and government partners, we've started to turn the corner, but we have a lot more to do. We can do more for our families. We can keep them safer. We can support them during hard times. We can make government come to them, as we've done with our pop-up city halls. We can have the mayor come to people, as we do every week in my virtual town halls. We're trying to stretch every dollar as far as we can in the budget. We're working to continue the legacy of surplus budgets as we started in 2020. Again, we look forward in 2021 to having a surplus again, continuing to work on tax changes that can help reduce our tax burden over time. We advocate for difficult things. Reassessment, it's not always popular, but we have to advocate for the things that will make us prosperous and successful in the long term. From the little things to the big things, we're working hard and we're staying focused. From street signs in every neighborhood and replacing those, to advocating for passenger rail and working with Amtrak and the Biden administration to make that a reality. From new parks equipment, just little fixes in the parks, to marketing our city aggressively to investors and developers and families that might want to move here. There's a lot of pieces that come with running a city government, and Scranton is poised to continue to turn a corner and blossom. I'm excited to do this for 4 more years alongside, again, all of the dedicated employees of the city. It's a 500-person organization. It's no easy task to be able to manage that and continue to look toward the future for all of Scranton's 80,000 residents. It's an honor to have this position. It's an honor to be able to run again and have this opportunity tonight. It's an honor, hopefully in January, to start 4 more years as we continue to do the hard work and make government work as hard as the people of Scranton do.
Thank you, Paige. So I would like to thank both candidates for joining us this evening and sharing their thoughts and ideas. And thank you on behalf of both the League of Women Voters of Lackawanna County and the Center for Ethics and Excellence in Public Service at the University of Scranton. And to our audience, please, if you have not already registered to vote, please do. You can register up until October 18th and still vote in the November 2nd election. And of course, even more important is to vote on November 2nd. Thank you so much for your time this evening.